Change, change, change. Change, change, change your tools. Change, 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 change your tools. So, good afternoon to my department head. Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of How to Get Where We're Going. As you know, we've been talking about change and the exciting things that are going on at Newmark Care Center and how we are going to get everybody on board with all that we've been working on. So this week I want to share with you one of the things that I've been learning in my change course that I'm taking at school currently, which I am going to help us all apply to what we're trying to do at Newmark. And that is one of the many change models that we have been studying is Kotter. And I found that I believe that Kotter will be a good model to apply to the change that we're trying to affect. Kotter happens to have 8 steps. So today I'm going to take you briefly through those steps and talk about how we might apply those steps. And then I'd like to get your input when we have our conference call next week. So step number 1 in Kotter is create a sense of urgency. That's one of the things that I'm trying to do with these weekly podcasts, since I'm not able to see you all in person on a regular basis, is help bring this to the top of your priority list as far as what we're trying to accomplish and our change. So hopefully this is one way that I'm going about trying to create some urgency. We also need to think further about how, when we implement this program, we might be able to create urgency in the other levels of employees as well. Second step, number 2, is that we need a guiding coalition. And you guys are it. As the department heads, you are the ones that are going to embrace this change first, get on board, and guide the rest of the group in making that happen. So you are a very important part of Kotter and step number 2 of his 8 steps. Step number 3 is develop mission and strategy. And as you know, we did that last year at our annual meeting. And so I feel like we, though, are a little bit lagging behind in implementation, but I do feel like our mission and strategy are strong and qualify to take care of Kotter's step number 3. Next, and this is where I think we actually are in the process, is communicating that change vision. Or rather, I have been continuing to communicate that change vision to you all, and you all have been helping to create that with me. But now we need to talk about the process about communicating that change vision to our employees. And an important part also, step number 4, is empowering the employees. And I think that as I have tried to empower you all in this process, we need to think that through, how that was effective, where it was and where it wasn't, and think about how we can best empower our employees to help participate in the change vision, and through that process communicate it to them thoroughly. This step number 5 also talks about broad-based action, and we talked about that previously, how this cannot be something that just the nurses are on board for or just the housekeepers are on board for. We really need major buy-in from all departments and all levels of employees. Then, once we have accomplished that and have buy-in, then we can go forward with step number 6, which is generating short-term wins. I think that this is really important with our group that is pretty anti-change in general. We need to set up opportunities in the area of childcare and pet adoption that we know have a good chance for short-term success. That is not to say that we're not going to try the harder stuff later, but Kotter believes, and I do as well, that the short-term win and multiple short-term wins that everyone can experience are going to be really key. And here's where I would like to ask for your input for our meeting next week, for you to go through some of the objectives that we've established previously and look where you think those short-term wins might be gained. Some of my ideas, just to give you a little heads up to think about, is some ideas about maybe doing some short-term pet visits, and maybe having some daycares and schools come and visit, things that really require relatively little risk on our part as far as having bad outcomes, but also will have a big pop and create a lot of excitement, which I think will really lead toward those short-term wins. This again is where I think we are in the process, and so I want to really focus on that this week. However, I would also like to take you through the final steps so that you can know where I plan for us to go. And that is number 7 in Kotter says, is that after you generate those short-term gains, that you need to consolidate and produce, consolidate your wins and produce more gains and more change. And that will be the plan to have our early wins that we're going to discuss and plan out and create happening and have them give us momentum to go into the harder changes, which basically are the furthest implementations that we discussed, like, multiple animals in residence and a nursery care center on site. Having done this previously, as we've discussed, and not had as good a success as I had liked, I'm really excited about how Kotter is going to help me, and therefore you all, to plan this change more cognitively, think through it better. And I think our results were still good in the other facility, but hopefully in this one we can go through it in a way where we will have less negative initial outcomes. Okay, and then finally, step number 8 of Kotter's 8 steps is to anchor change in the culture. This is basically what we are working on now already at our other facility, and is obviously a very key importance to create a situation where you don't have backsliding. I'm happy to report that that's going well, and Phoenix Mountain is really experiencing positive results in all areas: resident satisfaction, marketing results, including increased Medicare days, etc. So that's something a little further down the road for us that we want to talk about. That will be our last step to anchor change in the culture. And then obviously after all of that and outside of Kotter, we are going to want to go back and evaluate our process and how it went best and how we might better recommend for us as the second facility to suggest that this process is put forth for our final facility. So I'm really counting on you all to help me do that. So that's pretty much it for today for the podcast. I thank you for listening and getting on board with my new technology communication ideas. Some of you enjoying that change more than others, I'm sure. And with that, I'm going to send you out with another rendition of my new mantra, which is change, 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 change your tools. I'm excited to see you guys all soon. Bye for now.